Aaliyah Ford here with Framework Productions, and I am here interviewing Dr. Meloncon. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Wow, well, I'm a Houstonian, raised here. I was raised in Fifth Ward, Texas, that's what we called it. Attended Atherton Elementary, E.O. Smith, Cashmere High School, played basketball for Cashmere. Was involved in the drama department, and so we participated, did a lot of plays. 1968 received a scholarship to play basketball for South Texas Junior College, which is now U of H downtown. And from there I received my social arts degree, came to Texas Southern and received both my degrees, undergraduate and graduate degrees. That's like a quick review of my academic journey. But I've been writing for many years, and I guess you would consider me one of the early Houston playwright poets of the late 60s, early 70s. So I was co-founder of Sudan Arts Theater, and also later co-founder of Midtown Arts Center. So I've been doing this a long time.
That's great. That's really great accomplishments. So when did you first discover when you wanted to be a part of theater? Like, what drove you to get here?
Well, actually, it was my love for poetry in high school. I thought that poetry was such a great medium to not only express, but also to meet a girl. I thought that was a great way to, as we say, run a line down. Some walked away, said I was a little too abstract. Some enjoyed the poetry rhyme. But seriously, I love the poetry. There's something about, for some poets, they end up going through, following through, becoming a playwright. And I don't know if it's just the love for language, but many playwrights were once poets, or they still remain poets. So I think it's my love for language that probably had me to journey into playwriting. I wrote my first play in 1972, called Just a Dream, and it was done at the old Shape Center on Live Oak here in Houston. So I just thought that was just a magical experience to create characters and have them speak about their lives.
That's great. So when you're writing and you're directing your plays, like who are you trying to, what are you trying to express to the people? What are you trying to say to us?
Well, you know, there's so many, as I tell my students here, and let me just say, applaud my theater students here in the TSU Theater Department. They're brilliant, I must tell you. They're talented. So I teach a playwriting course here. And so in my playwriting course, I talk about the fact that there are no new ideas. There's nothing new to write about. Everything has already been written. So each writer comes along with their own signature, if you will, or their own interpretation of reality. So for my plays, or rather the topics I'd like to talk about, are usually parts of African American history that's been pushed under the rug. We have so many great things we've done, so many stories, so many unsung heroes, so many things we've done as a people that never come to fruition. And as a playwright, I like to research those ideas and put life to them. Whether I receive a Pulitzer Prize for it, or whether it becomes something on a shelf in a dusty library, it's there. I told it. So when I move on, that story will be told by someone. That is what motivates me. What is it we can talk about? For example, in the Galveston storm of 1900, which was one of the worst hurricanes in U.S. history, I was very curious about what happened to African Americans during that storm. I did my research to find out that even during the height of that tragedy, racism still existed. So as I did the research, I became compelled to write that play. And of course, as a result, it was done at Main Street Theater. So as a writer, I'm driven by truth, and truth that's been covered up, or truth that's being belittled. That's what motivates me.
That's great. And so what would you say is the essence of the TSU Theater? Why should the students here at TSU be interested in being a part of your theater department?
Well, in the first place, theater is one of the oldest art forms, you know, and so where would we be without theater? Because theater is the most convenient way of storytelling. And I've often said that the stage is the last frontier to tell our stories. And so we have to tell our stories, if not, who will? So we encourage students to become theater majors because, number one, they want to tell the stories. We have to pass that to the next generation. And theater is also a way of preserving history. It is a way of documenting history. But it's also a way of elevating great characters, heroes, men and women in our society, and African Americans who have been, again, forgotten. And so even with the technology today, even with all the technology, there's nothing like theater. So we've been very blessed to have great professors, great students here, and we've done many plays. We perform 4 plays a year. So we do everybody from Shakespeare to August Wilson. So that's why we celebrate our theater, and we have great productions.
Okay. And then in many ways, what is theater to an HBCU? What does it mean to us as African American Black people?
It tells our story. I mean, look, there cannot be, in my opinion, humble opinion, a HBCU without a theater department, without the performing arts. That feels very bad. Number one, we become the voice and the face of HBCU. And although we know that science and science and law and technology and all the other fields are important, but we all are motivated and inspired by the history of our people and the history of our struggles. And when we can't pass that baton to the next generation, which is what performing arts plays a vital role in doing, is passing the baton of truth, of pride. And remember also that it is during the Civil Rights Movement, the students themselves were the basis, the catalyst for moving the Civil Rights Movement forward. It was African American students on these campuses who actually were able to bravely face the racism and bigotry. It was the role of black colleges and the brave students. Even at TSU here, students may not know that students here at Texas Southern University in the early 60s left TSU, marched down Alameda to Weingarten, which was a supermarket, and sat at the counter. These were our students here at TSU. TSU has a legacy too. We often hear only the negative things. When something happens, we see helicopters flying over and people with cameras. But when we do great things, it's very quiet. We have a lot of greatness on this campus, great professors and great legendary people who moved this campus forward. I was here when Wheel Avenue was a street, and the students protested to close Wheel Avenue. Imagine going to school and you have to cross the street with people driving down Wheel Avenue. So I commend these great students. You know, they are the ones that moved the needle forward in terms of civil rights movement.
That's great. And are there any encouraging words you would say to your theater students here?
Absolutely. Studying, it's important that you take charge of your art, but you also have to make sure your academics are strong as well. We want to make sure that our students are prepared, that when they leave here, that they understand the long road ahead. And we as professors in the theater department try to give them a real dose of reality. It's not easy in any field, and especially in theater. So we try to let them know that when you leave here, number one, what drives your dream is discipline. You can have the artistic talent, but if you don't have the discipline to drive it, then you're going to run into some problems. So, but I'm optimistic that we're going to have very successful students because they are driven and they are also self-motivated. So I love my students, and I think that we have a bright future here. We're having, by the way, some new seats that's going to be coming in. We have a new lighting system. We're going to have a lot of major work done to our theater department. So we have a very exciting season and exciting future.
Okay. And while we're wrapping this up, is there any other upcoming plays that you'd like to let our viewers know about?
Our next play is April the 19th through the 22nd, and it's called Glass Menagerie, and we're getting ready to do that. And also we're preparing for our next season, and we're deciding among some plays that we may do. The students are also, the good thing about them, they are empowered to participate in the selection of some of the plays. It's not only the faculty, but the students also suggest plays. One is the Seven Guitars. Another play we may be doing is Steel Magnolia. So these are the plays that are coming up that we may be doing in the next season. And there's a good chance I'll do one of my comedies. I'm not a comedy writer, but I'll do one of my comedies called, believe it or not, There's Nothing Wrong with a Gizzard Sandwich.
That sounds pretty fun. Okay, you guys heard it here first. I'm Aaliyah Ford here with Framework Productions, and this is Dr. Thomas Meloncon. Bye. Hi, we're Framework Productions.
I'm Tyrelle Haney, and I'm the writer for this production.
I'm Vuong Nguyen, and I'm the cameraman.
I'm Aaliyah Ford, and I'm your on-air personality.
I'm Brian Long, and I'm the producer.
I'm Gary Reese, inspirational and motivator, and this is an amazing crew here.
And I hope you enjoy our interview with Dr. Meloncon.
Thank you.
Did I do it?
Beautiful.
Am I going to Hollywood?
Yes, indeed.
Do I get a limousine and okay, I want some. I want my water.
Now we need you to do that 10 more times.
I
just
know
like
that. I want my water imported. I want.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.